Hey boardies, welcome to AmassGames. My name is Simon. Today doing a setup, play and review for the game General Orders World War II. A two-player game by Osprey Games. This is by David Thompson and Trevor Benjamin and takes about 30 minutes to play. This is a game whereby we're taking out various of these counters represented are kind of our troops, and we have various generals as well, and we're looking to basically make a chain and ultimately see if we can resupply and either capture the opposing person's headquarters, or after the end of 4 rounds have the most victory points here, and if there's a tie it comes down to initiative. So this is a game which is only for 2 players, as I mentioned. Please do make sure you check out my 2-player playlist. There are some other playlists relating to Osprey and of course these designers you might want to check out as well. So I'm going to flip this to see who starts. Let's just say it's this side here. As you can see, we're playing with round 1. And check out my accessories playlist, check out my sleeving playlist too. I think this is MTL or maybe Mayday. And you're going to chuck these out at random as well. So the various things you get as bonuses for being on these locations. This is the Alpine map. Now I have talked about this in unboxing Thiele's trailer preview video as well. So about the other side, we can be on the Pacific Island. We're in northern Italy at the moment in the Alpine terrain. And yes, you can be playing with various planes, which if you land on a certain spot, they can give you extra bonuses once you start your turn. But there are certain cards which you will not be playing with, but you will play with them if you're playing that side of the board. Have some dice. We will be playing with these as well to resolve combat. And do check out my dice distancing playlist to see how far dice roll and whether or not you will need dice trays. So I'm just going to use one colour for the time being, and let's talk about what's going to occur. So there's various land that we're talking about here. Each of these spaces might actually look like it's only one space, but there actually are 2. So there's 2 here, there's 1 here. And these little dots show you what you are spawning at these certain locations initially. So this is a game whereby, as I said, you're going to be moving out, and what you're choosing to do is ultimately try and bring things out. So currently we've got a connection going over here that connects all the way around, and you can see blue does have a location similar, but we're looking to move across and again trying to control these central locations as well. So there's various things that you can choose to do in your turn. Let's talk about these various actions. So what we can choose to do is deploy commanders, which are represented again by these little hexagonal pawns here, or we can choose to recall them, and after that you're then going to be advancing the round marker. Now I haven't finished setup, but I've done well, I guess most of it, to show you how it's going to work. But just note that we do have 3 cylinders here. So that's how that's going to look. As always, if you have any questions, do let me know via the comments and better on YouTube. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. So commanders, and we have troops. So what can you do? Well, you control a land area if you happen to have troops in it. You can only have one colour, so we're in it, or it's going to be our opposing troops, which will be in this case represented by blue. And then what you're looking to do is, like I say, try and see if you can connect things up to see what else you can benefit from as well. So what you could do in your turn is you could choose to advance. This means taking your troops and maybe perhaps moving them. So you can move them anywhere where you're adjacent to where you currently are. So I could move them over here, I could move them over here, and you can take troops with you, so you can take as many as you want from this location. However, you cannot take the last troop from a land area. So if that's staying here, you can bring 2 across, you could keep 1 and leave 2 there, it's up to you. And then again, if your opposing troops are in there, which I'll give you an example with later, you're going to resolve conflict and again try to deal with that. Now, if there's flying, that is another action, but again, that's just the other side of the board. You could do power drop, which in this case, you can bring items, bring more of your troops onto the board. However, you cannot do it, whereas the symbol showing you, in this case, it's a pond. You do not want you guys landing in a pond. So you can choose an area that already has a commander in it, and what you can choose to do is drop 2 of your troops, so you have more troops in your bag, and you can choose to drop them again into the target area. So I could choose to drop them, let's say here as an example. Again, you will have to resolve conflict if it is there. Now coming back to advance, you can only advance into certain spaces. So in this case, you could advance here because of course we have a matching symbol showing us advance. As you can see, pretty much everywhere, in fact, I think everywhere does in fact have that advance symbol. Now, some of these spaces have barrage on them. What that represents is a certain token, as you can see down here. And what that means is it allows you to choose a target token up to, but no more than 3 areas away. So it could be 1, 2, 3, up to 3 targets away, or 3 spaces away. And you can bombard the target area, rolling 2 dice, and total values rolled, removing that many troops from that target area. So we've rolled 2 damage, 1, 2, 3 away, then 2 of those 3 discs would have come off. So 2 of the 3 troops. You can also do bomb as well, but remember that is just for the island side of the map, basically choosing a target area. So in terms of land conflict, we are going to do defenders. They're going to roll 1 die, dust in the rulebook dice, and remove any number of attacking troops equal to that roll. And then what you're going to do is then go back to the attacker. So ultimately, the attacker could then have fewer troops to then come back with. But attrition is basically going to keep on going until both players are simultaneously removing troops from the area one at a time, until again there's only going to be one person left. So you might also have air conflicts. Again, that is just the other side of the board as well. But yes, being aware of aircraft zones. So various random things that came out here too. This player aid can give us an example of what's going on. What they're typically doing is they're either going to give you extra troops. They are going to maybe let you perform an advance action immediately. Lets you maybe take the barrage action, rolling a different die. And so we have an extra one you can roll with. You can draw an additional card. And maybe you can also take a commander from your standby area to place it into your reserve. So that's how these area bonuses are going to work. Now we'll talk to you about some cards as well. So cards are played as and when a certain symbol comes up. So if I happen to play barrage or something like this, then that is when I can take such an action. So for example, there's a barrage. If I play the barrage, I could play this. That means I can always do a re-roll, or in this case, I could choose to roll with 2 additional dice. And that is when you can play the card. And yes, you can always do it as a re-roll, or you can choose to play the card for its special ability. And there are many different things you can do, adding more troops. You're going to deploy a commander into advanced space, etc. So there's lots of things, and always the symbology will match up with the kind of action that you're taking. Now, my rating for this is a 7.7, so higher than average compared to other people, which is about 7.4, 7.5. And yes, like I said, higher than average for me as well, based on over 2,750 reviews, and in fact over 3,500, including expansions, then this is much higher than average. Again, it is only for 2 players. I do love 2-player games, especially in this kind of war theme. And one of my opponents who I've played against did not like it because I was able to win on my first round. But if you don't happen to win on that first round, then you are then going to be advancing the marker. And ultimately what you're going to be doing is you can always take a turn, and maybe your opponent might pass and you might still have turns you can take. That is possible. But ultimately, yeah, then you're going to hit the end of the round, and then you're going to move into the next round too. Now, there's other things you can be doing. You can be playing down cards here too. That is something that can be effective, and that is something that you might want to consider in how you play this game. In terms of this as well, you can find that there are 2 sides to this, which might actually impact how you want to play something. So various things you can play with. In this case, that would be the island side, and a much simpler version where you are going to be playing on this side of the board too. So yes, you will be shuffling up all of these 24 cards in that deck, and you might want to use them into how you're going to be working with them, as you might have various things you might want to be taking to do. If you have any questions, always do let me know via the comments best on YouTube. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Also, let me know as well about any other thoughts you have about this game or any other games, perhaps by Osprey, perhaps by these designers, or perhaps this particular theme or even mechanism or key mechanisms. And yes, you can also recall commanders. So I want to talk to you about recalling commanders. So whoever's starting off with that initiative, let's say it will be yellow, so myself, let's say, then what you can choose to do is play out a commander or deploy a commander or pass. So deploying a commander is placing one of your commanders from your reserve into any occupied action space and resolving the action. So I could choose to bring out here again to trigger that. That's how it's triggering the action. That's the worker placement element. Again, you must make sure that when you are bringing them out, that there is a valid move to do so, which we will actually talk about now as well. So we've talked about all the actions you can do, but it is important to talk about criteria. You cannot bring a person out here if it does not link back to your HQ. So it doesn't matter if this is here somehow or another. You could break the line, and I can't do this because it doesn't link back to HQ. That's all the key thematic thing that really sticks out for me. And also the linked area is adjacent. It must be at least adjacent to at least having 2 or more troops in it as well. So you've got to make sure you have enough people in it to feel as if they've got enough responsibility for what they're doing. That's how these key actions work. So I do apologise sincerely, in deep sincerity, for not mentioning that earlier. Again, speaking about barrage, you must be able to control it. So you've got to have the space, which I did kind of touch on earlier. But also, again, you've got to match the certain faction colour as well. So you can't trigger this barrage out of interest. Meeting up the criteria of the other ones, such as reinforce. This allows you to basically take extra troops from your reserve and place them into land areas that you control and supply, but you cannot have more than 5 per land area. And if there's not enough troops in your reserve to complete an action, you may first remove troops from areas you do control and place them into your reserve, but you cannot remove the last troop from an area. So it's all about making sure you keep control. So it's a kind of an area control game as well. You can plan as well. You can draw more cards and add them to your hand. There's no limit of amount of cards you can have in your hand. And if you deploy the plan space, so these various spaces around here, that what you can choose to do is that it basically allows your opponent to, well, if the opponent has the initiative, you can flip it so that you have the initiative for the next round. So you can deploy first in the next round. The initiative is important because if it's a tie after 4 rounds, whoever has the initiative is going to be the winner. And that pretty much covers off the game. Again, if I've goofed and made any mistakes, again, please make sure you do comment. And via that description YouTube, you can find more links through to Instagram, TikTok, X, Threads, etc. And again, I believe currently at time of recording, it's the most videos for all those various platforms in Europe. So yeah, very happy to hear that so many people are checking that out too. But no, looking forward to speaking to you at the next one. But for now, thank you very much and enjoy the game of General Orders World War II. Back to the table.